Hey everybody, PKFT1 here, and today I'm sitting down with the original creator of the origin of the Sans version of Stronger Than You, at least when it comes to the lyrics in the comic, with Gym Leader Charon.
Hey, how's it going? I am known as Gym Leader Charon. Online, you can call me Charon or Morgan. I'm cool with any of those. Yes, so I was the original creator of the comic, the lyrics, and the drawings that accompanied it, in an original comic on my Tumblr blog that then received a bunch of cover versions and animations and variations, parodies of my parody, so on ad infinitum, forever and ever.
So people might be wondering why we're sitting down here together, and there's two reasons. One is that this year, not quite right now, but I think by the end of the year, it will have been 10 years since the whole Sans Stronger Than You thing started or got really popular. But then also, I've known Charon all this time since before the comic was made, and so we've been close friends forever. And it's just interesting for us, over the past 10 years to look back on this thing that she made and to see everything that's sprung up from it and this entire creation that has really kind of gotten out of control in many ways. And we just kind of wanted to sit together and reflect on some things, talk about some funny things, and just little things that we've noticed over the years as we look back on it. And so I want to turn it over to Charon because it's going to be a lot more interesting coming from her than me. And I wanted to take you back to 2015. Undertale just came out, and you had talked to me about Undertale. I hadn't played the game yet. You kind of tried to explain to me the appeal of it, and I was kind of like, whatever. But I think my mind dwelled on it a lot more when you made this comic and it blew up. So let's go back to the origins of this Sans Stronger Than You thing and kind of how it came together originally.
Yes, so, I got into Undertale pretty early on, within the first month of its original release. I had never heard of it beforehand. I had a friend that must have been following it beforehand, and then when it came out, kind of explained it to me and showed me a couple clips from it. So I got spoiled for the whole Sans thing, like, right from the get-go before I ever played it, but that's kind of what got me into the game in the first place, because I thought that was so fascinating that you could take these different paths, and that this character that was like a joke character the whole time ended up being like this ultimate, like extremely difficult nightmare boss. And I thought that was so cool, so that's why I started playing. And then, like many people, I would say maybe most people that played, Sans became my favorite character. And so, I was really excited to, like, try the genocide route and try and beat him. And then I think the game had its actual intended effect on me in particular, because I was going through the genocide route and I felt terrible. I loved all these characters so much and I felt awful, and it was such a slog doing all the grinding as it's meant to be. And I finally worked my way up to Sans. It took me like, I want to say like a week to beat the Undying, and then I finally got the Sans, and then systematically got my butt handed to me literally like 200 times in a row. And I got close, and then it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? He's earned it. He has. He's fought so hard to keep me from destroying everything. I should just let him have it and quit. And I've never gone back. I've never gone back to beat him. I've never tried it again. In fact, I don't think I've played through Undertale since then. I guess it left that much of an effect on me. I've watched other people play it, But I've never played it myself since I gave up on fighting Sans after he killed me 200 times in a row. But that experience really stuck with me, funnily enough. And I was just doodling some Sans stuff, and I had drawn a couple like doodles of the Sans battle, kind of comedic doodles. And I had I had this song from Steven Universe stuck in my head that day for whatever reason. And I thought the beginning of that chorus in the original song is the "Go ahead and try to hit me with your able." And I thought, oh, that's so funny. That kind of fits the Sans fight because he's always dodging you and it's impossible to hit him. And I just kind of quickly in my head like made a little parody of the chorus. And I posted that little parody of the chorus along with my doodles on Tumblr on October 15th. So exactly a month after the game came out. And then people saw that little tiny bit of parody I did. And a couple people commented I should write a full version. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I like to write. I like to write parodies. I like to write poems. I'm not going to pretend I'm great at it. But it's fun to do. And at the time, I worked as a Starbucks barista. And so I'd be at work for like long 8-hour shifts making coffees for people. And the whole time, in my head, like trying to compose this stupid parody for no reason other than to amuse myself. So I remember like being in the back, like the back kitchens, like washing dishes and stuff, and I'm like muttering under my breath, like the lyrics to this song, like trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't. Does this work? How's this cadence? What is a good thing? And then I had to remember it all in my head because I had no way to write it down. And so when I would get off work, I would have to quickly write everything down as I had it memorized in my head before I forgot it. And then I was like, all right, I wrote it. And then I'm like, but it would be kind of lame to just post this parody song with nothing to go along with it. I should draw a comic to go along with it. And I had these images in my head that I thought were cool. And here I pretend like the whole thing was like a big joke. It's a parody. It's just to be funny. But I was also at the same time, I'm like, oh, this is like legitimately so cool or whatever. So well, I try to have it both ways.
Before we go on a little longer, I just want to say it's so funny when you look at the Sans Stronger Than You song, and I'm sure this is part of the reason you were like, I gotta write it, because I'm sure you started making connections with some of the lyrics and you're like, wait, love works so well in this context.
Exactly, 100%. I got to that and I'm like, oh wait, this is way more than just the chorus. This actually fits super well. The whole concept of love and kind of twisting that on its head from the original song, which is about actual love. And this song where love represents murder, you know?
Or like and even being able to put in like little references to like determination and...
Yes, and that part I remember thinking, because the cadence fits so perfectly with that, as the original was I am a conversation, and I thought I am determination. I'm like, oh, that fits perfectly, and determination is such a huge theme of the game. I don't know, in my English major brain, I was like, this is perfect, it fits so well, this is such an amazing, you know, and I was thinking of it from that perspective, even though it has literally, Sans has 100% nothing to do with Garnet or anything she's about. The whole situations of both songs are completely different. It's truly just the wordplay that I really took inspiration from. And so I was drawing this comic, and you know, when you're drawing something kind of cringy, you know, where it's a fandom thing, and you are self-aware enough to like recognize it, that this is kind of dorky, but you're like having too much fun. But, you know, sometimes the shame gets to you, and I'm like, this is so freaking stupid. I was like halfway through, I'm like, I'm not even gonna finish this. I'm not even gonna post this. And Blur, our mutual friend Blur, was there at the time, watching me do this. And she was like, no, you have to finish this. You have to finish this. You have no idea how insanely popular this is going to get on Tumblr. You have to do this. And I'm like, all right, okay. And so with her blessing and her
foresight,
her encouragement, so you can all actually blame Blur for its existence, because I never.
Yeah, if you guys want to complain to anybody, you can complain in our comments. I'm sure Blur will see them. She's been on the channel plenty of times. So, but it is funny how like Blur just instinctively knew, and it's probably because for those of you who even remember back then, because I'm sure we have a lot of fairly young people, the Steven Universe fandom and the Undertale fandom. It probably had to have been like, it was still in its origins because it had only been around for a month maybe?
Yeah, it had been a month. I posted the comic October 29th, 2015. So it was about a month and a half after Undertale's initial release. So it was very early on in the fandom. And I had finished this, and Steven Universe and its fandom was completely like at its raging height, especially on Tumblr at the time. So it really was like catching lightning in a bottle, because I was right at the beginning of the Undertale fandom. I rode the crest of that wave when suddenly you couldn't go on Tumblr without seeing hundreds of Undertale posts, like everywhere you looked. Like people were sick of it. It got insanely popular like immediately, right about a month in. And so these two fandoms combining is what really got this thing off the ground in the first place. Because if I had made this now, nobody would have ever seen it. Nobody would care. Right. It would not have become the thing it did. It was really a matter of right place, right time. And I recognize that. And so I posted it. And I remember that night, because it was right before Halloween. It was October 29th. And so over the next 2 days, I remember seeing the notes rolling in on this on this comic. I was getting thousands of likes and reblogs on it, and getting really excited because I am not Tumblr famous by any stretch of the imagination. And so this was kind of my first like taste of internet fame, even in a bottle like this, and I was really excited that it was something I had created and worked on. Even if it was just a goofy parody. And I remember sitting there, because Blur was there as well, and we were like watching the notes roll in, and we're like, this is crazy! Oh my gosh, I can't believe this! And then I remember in my comments, I was like so kind of like casual, dismissive of this stupid little comic I drew or whatever, and I'm like, if anybody feels like, making a cover of this, go ahead, just let me know or whatever. Like, thinking no one's really gonna do that. But I'm like, if anyone ever wanted to sing it, I'd be interested in hearing it, because I can't sing, so I wasn't going to do it myself. And then almost immediately, I remember on Halloween night, and it's funny, I was dressed as Sans. That was my
I remember that costume, yeah.
Yes, I was dressed as Sans, and Blur was dressed as Frisk. And we kind of went, we were too old to go trick-or-treating, but we dressed up together. And we were looking at my, I guess, gosh, it wasn't a phone back then. I had like an iPod that had internet access. And we were looking at the notes rolling in, and then we saw the covers coming in. And one of those very first covers, and probably the reason this one got so popular, was because DJ Smell was like, maybe not the first, but like either the second or third person that covered it that night on Halloween, and released that song, and we were like in complete awe that somebody had put that together. And his video, because he uses my original art in my comic and stuff, and then from there, that's when it really took off. Once there was like an actual song to put to it, and like an actual voice and things like that, we were off to the races at that point, and all bets were off. Everyone started doing it, and then it finally got to the point where there was the very popular animated version that everybody knows. That's the one most people think of when they think of Sans Stronger Than You. animated version, where they based it off. And here's the thing I always thought was cool, was they based it off my comic. So it was kind of like I did a storyboard for the animation. And so whenever I see that animation, I feel a bit of pride because all the animation is based off my original drawings, the storyboard kind of thing. So that's the closest I'll ever get to storyboarding an animation for real, I think. And so that's a lot of fun. So when people, ask who's the creator of Stand Stronger Than You, and here's I'm sure we'll bring this up again at some point, where I will occasionally introduce myself as the creator of Stand Stronger Than You, and people are like, no, you're not. It's so, or it's DJ Smell, or it's the person that made the animated version, or it's this, and I'm like, no. When I wrote it and drew the comic, people don't recognize where the origin was. And to this very day, I'm still getting notes on it, and mostly all the comments on it now are people freaking out because they're like, holy crap, it's the original Sandstorm.
Yeah, we were joking. It's like, it's the lost text.
Exactly, like it's some like ancient relic that they've dug up, and they're like, oh. Yeah, let's see. As of today, it has, let me find the notes. 20,815 notes on Tumblr.
Which, okay, I think...
Which is not an exorbitant amount.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed big to me at the time. It's not even my most popular Tumblr post, hilariously enough.
It's hard to put into perspective, and I think this is a good time to talk about this with a lot of people. Like, you might sit here and think, why would you talk about some random meme that you posted 10 years ago, even if it got popular? And the reason we talk about it is because it's like, this thing has not died. It's not like it got popular for a spell and then it just went away. It's like, this thing remained in the public psyche, well, at least within, like, certain fandoms, for this whole time, to the point where it's like people are still, to this day, making versions of this, and, it just exploded.
It got so far out of my hands that you would think I, as the creator, would know every single derivative version of this. No, it is so far beyond the scope of where I could track down every single derivative thing that came from this. This was, so people made like covers of it, and then animated versions of those covers, but then people made covers of my cover, or parodies of my parody. So there's two other very famous versions of Stronger Than You that were based on my Sans Stronger Than You, where it's the Frisk version and the Kara version, that are both extremely popular in their own right, possibly even more popular in some cases. And then there are covers of those versions, there are animated versions of those, there's like mashups where it's all three of the versions singing together. And then from there, people are like, we can do this with all sorts of characters. So there's probably a Stronger Than You version for every single Undertale character that exists at this point. I've seen like a Toriel one, I've seen a Papyrus one. I'm sure there's a billion more. And then it stretched beyond the Undertale fandom, and people have been making them for other characters in other fandoms. I've seen like a Bill Cipher one from Gravity Falls is the immediate one that crosses my mind. And then from there, it stretched on into infinity, and people have made like continual parodies. And I've seen people, this is the one that blows my mind the most, is I saw a video of some people performing it like live on stage at a con, and they were like dressed as Sans and Kara, and were like fighting each other on stage, and I'm like, this is so wild to me.
Yeah. I think when you start to have those experiences where it's like, it's bled through just like, the internet to like where you're actually seeing real people talk about this thing or do this thing. One thing, although I will say, is you scroll through the comments on these videos, there's so many versions, and I feel that it's time we dispel a certain rumor. If you look up this video, oftentimes you'll see on like Twitter or whatever, if anybody's talking about it, you'll scroll down and you'll always see somebody be like, fun fact, the creator of this went on to make, I don't know, it's like they say like a furry porn game or something.
Yes. That was someone who made another popular version of the Stand Stronger Than You. They made another video, and they went on to make a furry porn game. I haven't looked into the furry porn game myself, but people will always say the creator made this, and no, I did not.
Yeah, so I think there are some drawbacks that come with having so many having so many hands in the pot who have kind of like helped to blow up this thing, that some things get conflated here and there.
Yes, where everyone considers someone else the creator, you know? And I feel like I'm the creator because I'm the one that originally wrote it and drew the original comic, and then everyone else did versions of it. So
I mean, obviously, like
saying I'm the original creator of this particular parody. Yeah. And the funny thing is, sometimes I'll see a really cool version on YouTube or a really funny version, because the funny thing now is that the song, because it's so ubiquitous and popular, that now there's a whole bunch of like goofy meme versions that are like riffing on it. Mm-hmm. And those ones are awesome. I love all the stupid, like the Mr. Krabs version, the Squidward version, the like Kanye West sings, the Walter White sings or whatever. I love those. And so sometimes I'll go on and I'll comment on them and be like, hey, I'm the original creator of Stand Stronger Than You, and I just wanted to tell you I love this parody. I think it's hilarious. I'm so glad I created this comic so that this can exist, or whatever. And then inevitably people will comment on it and they're like, me when I lie on the internet, or you're not lying. Yeah, sure, you're just going on and pretending to be the creator of Stand Stronger Than You for internet clout. And I'm like, if I was going to lie about writing anything, I would have chosen something much cooler.
Like, I would have rather lied have been like the person who actually wrote the original Stronger Than You from
Stronger Than You. I would lie and pretend I was Estelle.
Or that you were Toby Fox. You know
yeah, exactly. Like, why would anyone pretend to be Tumblr user Gym Leader Charon? Okay? Nobody wants to be Tumblr user Gym Leader Charon, least of all me. So it's so ridiculous to me when people, and then inevitably there are other people that comment and they're like, she's credited in the original video, moron. Look at her. Look at her username. Like, it's really not that hard to trace back the origin, but, you know, people love to accuse people of lying for clout on the internet, so it doesn't really bother me. It's mostly funny, because I'm like, this would be the dumbest thing on earth to lie about clout.
I was gonna say something. I'm trying to remember what it was. As we were talking about it, like, just blowing up in popularity, there's so many versions, and you look at it, and there's so many of them have millions of views. I mean, the original has like 11 million, the original one DJ Smell did, and then like the animation has like 90 million views, and then subsequently there's plenty of them that have anywhere from like, you know, 250k to like 10 million views in and of themselves. And it's like collectively there's easily a billion worth of views, and it's like there's a not so insignificant part of the population that has heard this thing you made. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. Of the world's like right here, I just scrolled down and there's one that has 40 million views, and then the one right below that has 77 million views.
And it's so funny, you compare that to my original comic and it's 20,000 notes. Mm-hmm. And how insignificant that is in comparison to everything on YouTube. But the reach is wild, and it gets to the point where I often meet people in my everyday life that reference it without knowing that I'm the creator. And oh my gosh, my favorite anecdote relating to that is our friend Blur. Uh-huh. She was at work one day, and there was a customer, it was a little kid, was kind of chatting to her about Undertale, because he was wearing an Undertale shirt or something, and she mentioned something, oh, I like Undertale, and he started going on about how much he loved it, and he goes, and I love all the music. Do you want to know what my favorite song from the game is? And Blur goes, yeah, sure. And he starts singing Strawberry. Like, I have to tell. This is insane.
And it's like, did Blur say anything to her about, or say anything to the kid about knowing?
Yeah, she did. She's like, oh my god, yeah, she did. She was like, I know the person that wrote it. They're my friend. I'm sure because little kids will believe everything, so I'm sure this kid believed it without a doubt. I was gonna say other people I think would probably be skeptical, but yeah, and it's gotten to where I have had the extreme pleasure of like dropping that bomb on people. I remember playing D&D with a couple of my really close friends in college, and our DM liked to play music during our sessions, and one of the songs that randomly started playing during our session and I had to stop everything and be like, wait. This. Yes, and I had to stop and I had to be like, wait, I have a foot, because Blur was there too. We were playing D&D together, and we both turned to each other and we're like, wait, we have to stop everything, guys. I have a confession to make. That I read that song and they all freaked out. They were like, no way.
That's wild. It is funny how, like, again, to contextualize this for people, this thing has grown. We were talking about it earlier, how this isn't just, some meme. It became, okay, so to put it into perspective, I'm trying to think. There are plenty of extremely popular videos, right? Mm-hmm. That everybody knows. But there aren't many videos where the video in and of itself is really popular, but like it spawns so many other iterations of it, right? Where it becomes an entire subsect of YouTube itself. And I think that's what makes this so unique and worth talking about it all these years later, is it's like, it's not just some one-off meme. You know what I mean? There's a billion, because so many creative people have kind of taken on it and given their own versions of it, whether they write a new version, whether they sing a new cover, whether they animate something, whether they edit a goofy meme video together. And it's taken, like, here's how far it's stretched. Blur was telling me that she saw a whole subsection where it's like the Latin American Five Nights at Freddy's fandom has used a Spanish version of this song in like their videos on YouTube, because there's like translations, and so then those get co-opted by foreign fandoms. And you said so it's like so far out of the realm of like anything I ever would have reached otherwise. Yeah. It's become like a joke for us every few months. We just look it up to see what new Sans Stronger Than You stuff has been made in the past, like, every, like, 4 months, roughly. I think we just, like, send stuff to each other.
And it's always stuff that's recent. It's like, it was posted 2 weeks ago. Like, to this day, it's 10 years and people are still making stuff. Like, it's like I was saying, it's like steamed hams. Or it's that whole Simpsons meme with, where they do the different versions of the whole steamed ham skit. And that was really popular several years ago, but there's still versions being made to this day where you think you couldn't possibly do anything more with this. Everyone everywhere has thought of every possible riff you can do on this, and yet people are coming up with stuff every single day.
Do you have a favorite version that you've seen, or is it just like they're all your like...
They're all
babies?
My ugly children, you know? I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that mostly because, it's a goofy fandom thing. So I will go on record as saying, because there's so many people that are like, it's not even good. And I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you there. I mean, it's not my best work, but it's also something I'm not, like, ashamed of. Like, I think it's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah,
It could
absolutely.
probably be better if I went back and like tweaked things now. It could definitely be better. But at the time when I was just, coming up with this during an 8-hour Starbucks shift, just for fun, I think it's pretty good for what it is. So seeing people kind of take that and be inspired creatively to do their own versions is really cool to see. There's all sorts of really good animations. There's all sorts of really good art that's been inspired from it. Um, there was a fan game we saw the other day that looked
Yeah,
really cool.
that one was kind of crazy because I had seen
Made a fan
it's
game.
one of the top ones on YouTube right now, and I think it actually did start out. There was an animation I assume it was inspired from. I'll probably be showing it right now. I can't recall the name of it, but then somebody went on to actually make like a Sand Stronger Than You game of just like the song, but it's like the boss battle kind
It's
of
like a crazy, like wild version of the Sans battle.
yeah, and it's kind of almost rhythm based with the way the attacks come in, and it's really wild.
So cool.
Like you said, there's so many versions, and like obviously the big one, like there were really popular ones with the response versions, which for anybody who remembers, I was talking
Our
to
response and the brisk response are both insanely popular.
the I was talking to Charon about how it made me think back to the days, because I'm not one who gets super sucked into fandoms, to be honest. But what made me laugh about these response versions is it made me think of like way back in the day when there used to be, if anybody remembers this, for a short time on YouTube, there were things called reply videos. And it was basically like your video response to whatever it was you just watched. It wasn't really like a reaction so much as it was like it was almost like a video comment. And there used to be this thing that overtook it called Reply Girls. It's kind of made me think of like Undertale fandom reply girls. Not in a bad way. It just kind of, because it was called response video or whatever. And so it just reminded me of reply videos, and it was just making me laugh thinking about it. Obviously, this isn't the same. These were obviously way more creative and interesting and cool.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I just thought that was kind of humorous. But I've got to ask you, because I know we've talked about this. There was a point, and I can't remember when it was, but it's been for so long now. More people know the Undertale version than the original. And you've got to wonder how someone like Rebecca Sugar feels.
Oh, I'm sure she hates my guts. But yes, for a while, and for a while, the animated version of Stand Stronger Than You had more views than the original Stronger Than You from Steven Universe on YouTube, and people lost their minds over this. And it got to the point where people even tracked me down, as obscure as I was as the creator. People normally attacked the other people, but sometimes people actually did digging and found me, and then I would get comments in my inbox on Tumblr being like, how dare you overshadow Steven Universe like this, as if I set out to do that. Like I said, I wasn't even going to finish it because I thought there's no way anyone's going to care about this. So I did not set out to do it for clout. Definitely not to overtake the original Steven Universe. But I had a lot of people that were a lot of Steven Universe fans hate my version. And I don't really blame them, but
yeah, I mean, it's out of your control, you know.
I just want to go on record to say that the whole reason I made this parody is because I like the original song. It was catchy. I had it stuck in my head. I didn't go out of my way to be like, I can write a better version. Because A, I didn't, and B, that would be so arrogant to assume I could. But yeah, no, it's and so I often think Rebecca Sugar has to know about this, right?
Well, not just that, but like you know Toby Fox has heard this.
Oh,
obviously.
Toby Fox has to have heard this, and it's my life's dream to get him to acknowledge it or mention it in some form or another.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he thinks of it. He probably thinks it's lame. But regardless, it would be amazing to have him acknowledge.
Do you think Toby Fox downloaded the MP3 and ever listens to it, like, in his spare time?
Here's the thing, if I made something really popular with, like, all my characters and people made fan music of it, I would keep all the songs.
Yeah.
Even if they're lame.
Because, I mean, obviously he doesn't really talk about fan stuff. Because there's just so much. It's probably overwhelming. But, like, if there was one fan-made thing in the Undertale fandom that he would know about, other than maybe, like, Sans' Nest.
Other than Sans' Nest, the kind of Onceler fandom that kind of cropped up around Sans. His different versions. There's probably all the different AUs he probably did that got really popular. And then probably the really popular fan games that got a lot of, like the Undertale Yellow, things like that got a lot of fan support behind them. I'm sure those are probably the ones he thinks of first, but if he thinks fan song, this is the one. Mm-hmm. I don't really know any other fan songs, really.
I'm sure there are some.
I mean, I'm sure there's tons of them. But other than the ones that branched off of this one, I don't really know too many.
I mean, this would be the one to know, right?
Yeah, this would be the one to know. Even though, once again, it's a parody, it's not original. I'm sure there's plenty of really good original Undertale.
As we kind of talk about this, like, what do you think makes this Sans Stronger Than You parody? What makes it withstand the test of time? What makes it so enduring? Why are people still so attracted to this song 10 years later?
All right. So I think it goes back to the original reason why I even made it in the first place. There's like a mystique around the Sans battle where there's something so fascinating about the idea of a joke character turning out to be like this great challenge, and just kind of the depth to his character. You don't expect him to kind of turn like this and be this, cool guy, as he's this fat little skeleton that makes puns and eats hot dogs. And so, and the popularity of Sans in general, I think, has a lot to do with it. And then just because the song goes into kind of the motivations behind the battle, because one of the cool things about the battle is Sans' dialogue throughout the battle, kind of him explaining his reasoning. I think that's part of why it's so popular, because you get this really fascinating dialogue from him. And so I translated it a little bit into the song. Like, obviously, it's restricted to the lyrics of the original and kind of riffing off of those. But it goes into a little bit, and I think that's just such an interesting concept in general. Because this is the first, as far as I know, kind of like song piece of animation that really gave life to that fight outside of people doing Let's Plays of the fight. Mm-hmm. That I think that it's kind of Undertale's signature scene, I would say. Because, a lot of pieces of media have like a signature scene that you think of. And I think most people think of the Sans battle. And because there's so many versions that like beautifully animate it, that go into it, that illustrate it, I think are kind of the most enduringly popular depictions of any pieces of the game in fandom. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I think if anyone else had did it before me, I think maybe that would have been the thing that took hold. Like if someone had written an original song or did an original animation depicting this particular scene, I think it would have taken hold just the same as mine did. Although I also think it's the nature of parody in general.
Yeah.
Parodies are very, when compared to coming up with original work, parodies are easy. I mean, not always. Obviously, there's masters of the craft like Weird Al, where you compare the original work to his and you kind of see how his mind works, and it's a beautiful thing. But a lot of people, it can kind of see where you're coming from, and they're like, I can do that, and they make their own parody, and so it just kind of begets a sort of creativity, and I think it's the allure of being able to make your own thing based off this. And people seeing a wealth of content before them, so many people that have done these different versions, and I think getting drawn into the to the depth of, you know, all the content that's been created and how it's all combined together, how it all connects. There's an allure to that as well.
Yeah.
And so I think it's all of that combined. I know I probably sounded really pretentious going on about all that.
No, you're fine. I think it's so funny. You scroll through the comments, and it was funny because somebody, I can't remember what it was, but kind of what inspired this video, to be honest, was it may have been a week or two ago. There was some thread on Twitter that popped up that was, I can't even remember what the subject of the song was, but they were talking about this song. And I was scrolling through it just like I usually do through the comments. And so many of them are like people being like, oh, this song was my childhood, or I was obsessed with this as a kid. And it's like, we all had our obsessions as kids. You know, when I'm a kid and I think the things I was obsessed with, it was like Star Wars, and it was reenacting, like, you know, the fights or whatever from Star Wars. But there's a funny video that I actually just shared with you where there's this guy who, I think he says he's like 19 now, who's a streamer, and he was rewatching one of these animations that was just remade like 2 months ago, the car version, and he's talking about his childhood experience with this song, and I'll probably play a clip of it here, but it's so funny to hear it vocalized and just repeated time and time again, that this, not that Undertale specifically, I mean, obviously that's probably more pertinent to their childhood than this song is, but the fact that this song itself also has kind of like wedged its way into people's nostalgia bone. And
yes, my favorite comment I've ever seen on like YouTube or whatever is someone saying, I used to sing this in the shower every day, like while I was in middle school, and just the thought of that is fascinating to me. The fact that something I wrote wedged itself in a child's brain like so thoroughly that they would sing it in the shower to themselves constantly, because oh my gosh. It takes a special kind of song to get you to sing it in the shower.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see it being the 10-year anniversary in October, or I guess tail end of October. What kind of like things pop up? You were actually just telling me that there's like a fan made like reanimated thing that people are working
So there's
on?
been a project in the works for a while, where, you know, that kind of reanimated trend that popped up a couple years ago, where people were reanimating like popular videos, or even like the entirety of like movie Shrek or something like that, and people would go and submit their own like scenes, and then they would cobble them all together, and and it's always really cool and fun. I love reanimated projects. But someone approached me a couple years ago because they wanted to do a reanimated project for Stand Stronger Than You, and yeah, and it's still ongoing. People are still working on, you know, it takes a long time to animate, period, and especially a long time to gather enough people and have them actually finish their parts and stuff like that. Like multi-animation collaborations, they take a long time just because, you know, you're not always sure if the people collaborating are gonna.
And is that something that's still in the works?
But it's still in the works. It's not dead in the water or anything. There's people still working on it. So it'll be really cool when that ends up getting finished. I'll be really excited to see that. Because once again, it's based kind of on my original comic, so it'll be like I'm storyboarding a new animation again, which is a ton of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've been an outside observer, but we've just been so close over the years that, like, even though it's not my thing, it kind of feels like it's kind of cool witnessing somebody that I know so closely, like, having this crazy influence. And I was actually going to bring up the fact that we were having a discussion the other day, and you brought up that somebody was trying to track down the origin of a certain very well-known motif when it comes to Undertale, and that your comic might actually have something to do with the origin of this.
Yes. So this was wild, and I didn't recognize it until someone pointed it out in, like, the notes of my original comic. Someone pointed out, they're like, wow, this was posted really early in the fandom's life cycle. I think this might be the first instance of Sans' glowing, fiery blue eye in fan art. So here's the thing, for those who don't know, there's a trend in Undertale fan art. Everyone knows Sans has this glowing blue eye, right, when he goes sicko mode or whatever, right? So in the original game, it's very simple. His eye, it just flashes blue and white. I mean, blue and yellow. And it's very simple. But in all the fan art, people draw the eye like it's got this huge, like, blue flame coming out of it, or like a blue smoky, like, trail or whatever. And I vividly remember while I was drawing it, I made the decision to make his eye look like that, like it was this blue flaming, like, smoke trail thing, because I thought it looked cool and dramatic for what I was drawing. And now that I think of it, I don't believe I was influenced by any other art at that point. I'm pretty sure I made that decision on my own, and because it was so early in the fandom, and because so many people watched that song and saw my art in the original DJ Smell video, and saw the animated. I'd have to watch the animated version again to see if they incorporated the flaming blue eye part. But if it did, then it's possible that was a huge influence on all the fan art over the years, and it was this huge trend in the depiction of Sans, and I didn't even realize it. Now, I'm not going to definitively say I was the first person to do it, but I was definitely one of the first.
Yeah, I mean, that early on. So what you're saying is you could possibly be single-handedly responsible for that email or call or whatever it was into the 700 Club of that mom being terrified of the skeleton with the flaming blue eye on their child's phone. That could have been your fault.
In that connection, it could be my fault. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that would be a legacy to have.
The influence of your comic truly knows no bounds, it seems. At least on paper, as far as we can tell. But I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to touch on before we finish up here, but it's just so fascinating looking at the legacy of Sans stronger than you. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like, it's penetrated so many things at this point. It may as well be just a part of pop culture in general. At least when it comes to the internet.
Here's the thing, I think how it affects my life most strongly is my dad is so proud of the fact that I created this thing that he will, without provocation, show random people with absolutely no context who will pull up the video, DJ Smell's video, and show them this song of an evil skeleton murdering a child over and over. People's minds who have absolutely no concept of what Undertale is. That's what it seems like, and Dad's like, look at what my daughter made.
Yeah.
He will just show it to anybody, and I'm like, Dad, I'm so glad you're proud of me, but please, please stop. Nobody knows what this is.
It's like everybody knows what it is, but at the same time, nobody knows what it is.
Like, real people don't know what it is. People who are on the internet get it, but
chronically
he's showing
online,
people. Yeah, he's showing like people like at work or in the grocery store or at church or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm glad that he's supportive, but I kind of wish he'd be less supportive.
Yeah, no, I can understand that perspective too. Because there's always, like, I feel this way too, even with some of my stuff. As much as my stuff is, like, just videos where I commentate on whatever it is, I'm not really one to go out of my way to tell people, like, oh, I do this. Like, I don't, when I was in college, I wasn't telling people, like, oh, check out my YouTube channel, I do this. I didn't really want people to know, unless I was close enough to them or I knew they shared enough interest with me. I would be like, yeah, you should maybe check out my channel. And I haven't had anything as popular as you. I mean, I had that Persona meme, just the memes video, but
which is genius. I loved that.
But like, there is a certain level of shame that comes with producing any sort of fan work, at least if you're like someone like you or me. Other people, they probably don't care. But
yeah,
sometimes
other people,
you're
I
like
mean,
embarrassed about
they live
it.
their life. It's great, but
yeah,
I pretty much save this exclusively as a bomb to drop when I feel like the reaction will be something entertaining. So, like during that D&D session with my friends, or when I had the great joy of dropping the bomb on my boyfriend after we'd been dating for like like a year, and I'm like, oh, by the way, have you ever heard this song? And he's like, yeah, it's great. I used to listen to it, when I was younger. And then I just remember looking at my phone and thinking, oh, this is a sweet moment, before dropping the bomb on it. I had written it. So that's always a lot of fun. Or when I'm like in a new group online or something, like I'm in an art group or something like that, and after I've integrated myself and I've made some friends or whatever, I never start off with it. I wait. I wait a long time before I'm like, oh, by the way, did you know I created this? And it has a much more satisfying effect on people that way.
I can understand that, like, if it naturally, but again, I think it's just a testament to how penetrative this thing has been throughout the years. And I wonder sometimes, I'm like, it's been 10 years and there's still new versions being made. In another 10 years, are people still going to be like...
Yeah, will we be back, like, on the 20th anniversary of Stand Stronger Than You? It's still going to be a thing? Because I do wonder how long it'll take for this to run its course, but... I mean... hard to say. It is hard to say.
I mean, obviously there's been a bit of a slowdown just because of, age in general, but, like... Deltarune isn't all out. Who knows how long it's going to take to put out the rest of the episodes.
My dream version. Someday, if I do another one, I would like to do a really stupid version of Birdly from Deltarune.
Oh my gosh, we talked about this like 3 years ago that we were going to make one, and then we never did. But here's the thing.
Birdly is my favorite from Deltarune, and nobody likes him. So I'm like, oh, it's like the exact opposite of Sans. Where now we were going to do one called
Smarter Than You.
Yeah, it's going to be Smarter Than You. I still want to do that someday.
But here's the thing: is Charon Hat, when we did our playthrough of Deltarune, because we have played through it all together. I don't know what it is about Undertale Deltarune, or, well, specifically Deltarune, where it's like we all have to play together when a new chapter comes out. I don't think...
Exactly. None of us, we can't do it by ourselves. We have to get together and experience
Blur, it. Sometimes Nyx will all play together. And if we do, because you had a funny voice you did for Birdly that we just thought was really funny. You would have to be the voice in
I
that
would have
song.
to be the one that sings it. That's the unfortunate thing, is I would have to sing it myself.
It would be like everything comes full circle where the creator has to inevitably make a parody of their own parody and actually has to be the vocals for the
and
song.
do the art for it. This would be entirely my creation outside of the original Stronger Than You, which I would still be pulling from. So
that's really
someday it'll happen. I swear it to you. And and it will get nowhere near as popular because everyone hates Birdly. So
I don't know. Maybe chapter 3 and 4 will change that. Hard to say.
Maybe. That'd be great.
Well, I think that might about wrap up the discussion, unless you have any final thoughts before we close out here.
I think everyone needs to check out the Mr. Krabs version of Stronger Than You. That one's really good. A lot of the stupid meme versions coming out now, they're incredible. I love them. I feel no ill will towards them at all. I'm glad they exist. I hope more keep getting made. They crack me up. And I would say if, you're out there and you're making some cringy fan thing right now, don't give up. Go ahead and make it. You never know. You never know where it could lead.
Yeah, you might be on the verge of striking gold. This could be you in 10 years.
This could be you in 10 years finding out that the Latin American Five Nights at Freddy's fandom has adopted it. You're like, wow. I did that.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Like I said, 10-year anniversary. What kind of springs up. And if anybody wants to check you out where you're at, you're still on Tumblr to this day, right?
Tumblr still exists. Tumblr still exists, and I'm still active on it. I am Gym Leader Charon at tumblr.com. So if you want to say hi, go for it. I'm still there.
Well, thanks everybody
you can find the original there as well.
Sorry, say that again?
Oh, and you can find the original comic there if you're ever curious.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in for this special conversation for the 10-year anniversary of Sans Stronger Than You. First name Sans, middle name Stronger Than You, last name Undertale. I think should be the full memetic nickname or full name, legal name for Sans going forward.
I would be honored.
But yeah, thank you guys for checking it out. If you want to, there's also an edited kind of version of this video where we kind of discuss and make jokes about this same conversation, but in a much more distilled, shorter form, if you want to check that out on my other channel. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.